I went to claim my father's fortune, but instead, I found his ghost. Not in memories, not in old photographs, but in three names, buried deep inside a document that he never wanted anyone to see. And in that moment, everything changed, because the money I thought would change my life started to feel like something I shouldn't touch at all. When my father died, people didn't talk about him for long. What stayed longer was what he left behind. Properties, accounts, numbers that didn't feel real. It was the kind of inheritance people dream about. And for a moment, I let myself imagine it. A life without pressure, without uncertainty. A life where everything finally felt secure. But my father was never a man who explained things. He lived quietly, left quietly, and now he had left behind something that felt louder than anything he ever said. Everything about the estate was organized, too organized, until I found something strange. A private safe, not listed, not mentioned, just there. Inside it, a small folder. And inside that, three names, just names, dates of birth, and an address. And at the bottom, one sentence: provide for them if you choose to do what is right. At first, it didn't make sense until it did, because suddenly, everything I had ignored started to connect. The distance, the silence, the unexplained absences. He hadn't just been distant. He had been somewhere else, living another life. And just like that, the version of him I thought I understood disappeared. I didn't tell the lawyers, because this wasn't legal. It was personal. So I searched, quietly, following the only thing I had, that address. And eventually, I found them. Not hidden, not unreachable, just living a life, completely separate from mine. Their home was small, not broken, just worn. And in that moment, something became clear. While I had been preparing to inherit everything, they had been living with almost nothing. And the weight of that difference was impossible to ignore. When I finally met them, there was no build-up, just a door opening, and three people trying to understand why I was there. I introduced myself slowly. We sat down, and after a moment, I said it. Our Father. The room shifted slightly, not dramatically, just enough. And then I said their names. Daniel, Miriam, Joel. Saying those names out loud made everything real. They mentioned their mother briefly, not emotionally, not in detail, just enough. She had known him differently, not as a man with wealth, not as someone living two lives, but as someone who came into their lives quietly and left the same way, never fully staying. And somehow, that made everything heavier, because it meant this wasn't just a secret he kept from us. It was a life he never fully committed to either. They didn't react with emotion. No drama, just stillness. Daniel leaned back slightly, thinking. Miriam stayed quiet, processing everything slowly. Joel said the least, but understood the most. I explained what I could, about the document, about the inheritance. And as the truth settled in, their reactions stayed quiet, but deeper. When I told them about the money, everything shifted again, not loudly, but physically. Miriam exhaled slowly. Daniel looked at me differently, not confused anymore, just searching. Joel nodded once. And when Daniel finally spoke, he didn't ask how much. He just said, "So this was always there?" And I nodded, because there was no other answer. Miriam didn't react to the money itself. She reacted to the idea that someone had thought about them at all, even if it came too late. And Joel just sat with it, quietly. No one said thank you, and that made it real, because this wasn't a gift. It was something that should have existed, but didn't. And in that moment, I realized something. Gratitude doesn't always sound like words. Sometimes it feels like silence. That has finally changed. I went home with everything in front of me. The wealth, the life it promised, and those three names. Daniel, Miriam, Joel. And I understood something clearly. Some things come to you without ever truly belonging to you. And if you keep them anyway, you carry the truth behind them. So I made a choice. Not quickly, not easily, but honestly, I walked away from the inheritance and towards something that made more sense. Because in the end, it wasn't about the money. It was about what it represented. And sometimes, the hardest thing to let go of is not what you earned, but what was never yours to keep.